Hey guys, welcome back to Move Live. We're going to be going through our mobility work now to finish the week off. So hope you've had a good week, hope you've been working hard. We're going to do a little bit of unwinding now, loosen things up. If you happen to join us last time we did this, basically the layout of things is we're going to go through 7 different drills and it'll be 3 minutes a piece on each of them. So if we happen to hit something that's a single-sided movement, it'll be 90 seconds a piece. So I'll tell you when to kind of move on to the next thing or change sides. One other thing is that once we're doing it, I will give you some cues on each of the movements, but I'm not going to be talking too much because what I want you guys to do is actually try and have some kind of time to yourself to kind of focus on your breathing, really relax into these things. So although some of these positions might push the discomfort a little bit, it should feel quite nice to kind of sink into them, trying to let your body kind of melt into those positions. So the first one we're going to go into is what we call a Jefferson curl. So we'll basically go from a standing position and we're going to curl our body over into a big forward fold and then roll back up again. So you can follow along with M. We're going to start in 10 seconds. So key thing with this one is thinking about kind of moving one vertebrae at a time. So you'll see Emily's head move before anything else. You're going to tuck her chin and then basically just kind of round herself off as much as possible. So 3 minutes on this, we'll be moving all the way to the bottom and all the way to the top a handful of times. This is not about, you don't get bonus points for doing more and more reps. You want to do this as slow as possible. So sort of about 5 to 10 seconds at bottom range here, just to allow that rear chain to really open up. And then you can see as she comes up out of it, she's moving kind of tucking her tail under first, then it's that low back, and then mid back, and then upper back, then shoulders, then neck, then head. So take the next little bit to just slowly move in and out of those ones. Nice deep breathing as you do it, so really try and relax the body into that stretch. So as you move through into the bottom range of that position, guys, don't necessarily think that you have to touch your toes. What you'll find is you'll hit a point relative to your own flexibility where you might feel like you need to bend your knees. Now what we'll do is we'll try not to do that with this one. I'm going to try and get you to keep them straight. So if that means that your hands end up kind of in front of your shins or in front of your shoelaces rather than touching your toes, that's okay. For those of you who are really, really flexible, you might be able to do as Em's doing there, get the knuckles to the ground or flat palms to ground. It's important not to force it. You want to encourage it and sort of reach into it, but you don't want to try and wrench that back to try and get deeper. It's not the point of the stretch. You know, one of the things Em's doing really well is the whole time she's moving through this, it's like she's trying to look into her belly button. So she's always keeping a nice deep kind of curled position. When she gets to the bottom, her head is not going to pop back out and look ahead. She's always looking back and keeping that chin tucked. So we'll do one more minute of these. And again, just trying to move one vertebrae at a time. Okay, 30 more seconds. So from here, guys, we're going to move into pigeon stretch. So Em's going to jump down to that now. You notice she's using some pads here. This is just going to help for her own personal position with this one. She's just going to have a little bit of support under that knee. Now, if you are super duper flexible, guys, you might be able to put that shin completely flat to the ground. What you'll find with this is the tighter you are, the more that your foot is going to want to kind of sit back, pulled into your hip. And what we ideally want to have happen is have that shin kind of swing out away, so it's almost going to be kind of perpendicular to the line of your body. So it's more important that if we use a little bit of elevation, like some couch cushions or something like that, to prop that knee up, we can see Em gets this really nice kind of extended spinal position, right? And she's got that shin squared up, perpendicular to the body. So that, as opposed to us getting rid of the pads, going flat, tucking that leg in, we kind of miss that point of that nice externally rotated position through the hip. So we're going to do 90 seconds each side on this one. Now you'll probably find along the way this will start to kind of loosen up and kind of give in a little bit, so you'll be able to get deeper and deeper into it. So always be kind of reassessing, can I get that foot a little further out, or can I reach my back leg a little further back and kind of sit into that hip stretch. This is a really nice one to be able to develop a really nice healthy squat pattern, guys. This is going to be a big one that you should work on quite frequently. Okay, swapping in 3, 2, 1, and we'll go to the other side now. So again, she's just using the pads there just for a little bit of support, and then she can really kind of stack herself over her pelvis. So another 90 seconds there. Now one thing we'll see quite commonly with people doing pigeon stretches, they'll often want to kind of forward fold and lay down over that front leg. Now that's okay, but what we want to also think about is the more I round my spine over, the less I'm actually going to get into that hip capsule and that glute stretch. So I'm thinking kind of similar rules to when we say squat and deadlift and things like that, where it's like spine is kind of fixed to pelvis and I'm trying to move at the actual joint itself. So that's why we want to have this nice upright position. If you can hinge forward and maintain spinal position, that's okay. But we don't want to just round over and kind of have false mobility or false range of motion. So we'll go 30 more seconds on this one. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're going to move into an up dog stretch now, guys. So we'll move them out of the way, and we're going to go into laying on our front. So arms are going to be nice and extended. So we're thinking about that entire kind of front chain of muscles through there. So abs, hip flexors, maybe even a little bit of quads if we're kind of extending into that, but just holding ourselves up nice and tall. So this is a really nice one if you've done tons of things like sit-ups or even like running and stuff like that. Being able to open up those hip flexors is really nice. Just hanging out there, and again, thinking about the breathing piece to this. So the more I can kind of breathe and expand my belly and expand my rib cage, the more this stretch is I'm gonna benefit from it. Now what you can do whilst you're in this position is you can throw in a little bit of rotation right and left. So you notice that her arms still stay stiff. So it's kind of like she's just going shoulder across, and that'll start to drive that stretch a little bit more down our obliques, so down the sides of our abs. They do a lot of work stabilizing when we're doing all of our dumbbell, kettlebell, all those kind of loaded movements. And one thing you can do if you happen to find this stretch nice on the abs, but maybe a little too much pressure on your low back, is what you can do is just reduce it down to kind of forearms. So it's a similar sort of deal. We still have that kind of upward kind of sloping curve through the spine there. We definitely want to have an emphasis on trying to lift our head and lift our rib cage up so that abdomen is really stretching out. But that's just a less intensive version of it. Okay, might go back up to those straight arms again. Now we're halfway through this one. What we can do every now and then, if you want to kind of break it up a little bit, is just sit back into child's pose just for a moment. So that's just going to kind of go from that really extended front position to a nice extended back position. And then you can kind of sink back in again, play around with those rotations. I'm going to go 30 more seconds before we move on. Okay, now from here, guys, we're going to move into a lying hammy stretch. So Em's going to roll onto her back. Now you can either do this one with or without a band. The band just kind of adds a little bit of assistance to it, even if you've got like a skipping rope or something like that, or even a belt works well, just something you can kind of latch under the bottom of your foot. What she's going to do is lay her body flat, so leg included, everything flat on the ground, and then we're bringing one leg up into that hamstring stretch. So she's just using that band or that skipping rope to draw back on that leg. So we'll be doing 90 seconds each side with this one. Now, what ideally we want to sort of initially play around with is trying to have a straight leg position, so that's no knee bend. Now, for some of you, if you're really, really tight with your hamstrings, come back this way for me, you might end up kind of forward of your hip, and that might be as far as it goes with a straight leg. That's okay. Just kind of tension on, tension off, gently encourage it to come back further and further. From there, you can also play around with softening the knee a little bit, and then coming back a little deeper, a little deeper, and a little deeper. Thirdly, we can kind of play around with pressing from that bent leg to a straight leg. So we'll see she's got the bend there, and then she's going to kind of push into that tension, push into that stretch, and then soften it back off again. Move in and out of that one. Three, two, one. So switching sides now, guys. Take it to the other side. We're going to lay that leg that we were just stretching flat on the ground, and then we're going to bring that other one into it. Good idea with the leg that's on the ground, guys. You'll be tempted to kind of just let it go loose and kind of splay out to the side. Notice Em's going to kind of keep it active and sort of turn that toe up to the roof. So that's also going to play into us keeping our pelvis nice and level, rather than the body kind of trying to rotate or twist away from the stretch. We're going to try and straighten up and get the maximum amount of tension on there. So tension on, tension off, guys. You don't have to be heavy on the whole time. You can kind of breathe and relax and try to just gently encourage it back a little bit further each time. Okay, 30 more seconds. All right, now from here, guys, we're going to move into a little bit of calf mobility. So what you'll need with this one is either a wall or a door frame. We're going to use the edge of the rig here. Basically what will happen is Em's going to get the ball of her foot kind of as high up as she can get it on that upright, and she's going to kind of push her weight down to the heel. Now for the next 90 seconds on this one side, she's going to kind of rock forwards and backwards. So it is a stiff knee position. She's not bending the knee, and she's just going to kind of rock her body right up over that heel as if she's putting all of her weight on that foot. And then she's going to tension off back onto her other foot. So we're just sort of flossing through that ankle, trying to get some good movement through the Achilles and through the calf. Now along the way, if you feel like your foot is kind of starting to creep and slide down that post, try and wind it back up again. Again, go for that really nice tension. This drill is generally best done with shoes on. You can do it barefoot if you want, but usually the discomfort in the heel is going to distract you from anything else. So if you are doing it barefoot, probably a bit of cushioning under there is good. Otherwise, obviously the shoes has got that nice sole underneath it. So if you've been doing a lot of like running, sort of jumping, squatting, that sort of stuff, taking care of those ankles and those calves is going to be really important, especially as far as like being able to hit good squat depth. If you're doing your air squats and your kettlebell squats and things like that, being able to get that nice sort of forward shin angle as we sink into the bottom is going to be really important. All right, we'll switch to the other side. So again, locking that leg out and then just shifting that weight up over the top. Now, if you are doing this kind of rocking motion, guys, and you're sort of feeling like, oh, I'm not really getting that extra bit of tension on, what you might find is that your torso is coming forward, but not your actual hip, and that's the bit we really want to try and get, is that leg whole leg and hip over the top of that ankle. So it's almost like you're doing like a hip extension forward to get your weight up over the top of it. And like everything else that we've done, it should be on the verge of uncomfortable, but definitely not agonizing. So don't press it too far. You just want to press at that point where you hit that nice kind of, it's like a nice kind of pain, yeah? Okay, we've got about 20 more seconds on this one. All right, so we're going to push into the next one, guys. So we've got a kneeling hip extension. Now, we'll go through kind of a couple of progressions of this one because it depends on how flexible you are through your quads and through your knees and everything. So first one is just basically kneeling like this. So the feet are tucked underneath in a deep knee bend there, and she's sitting upright. Now, the first thing she can do is kind of just lean back slightly. So what you'll see is the quads are going to start to light up in that stretch a little bit, but she's still kind of semi-closed through those hips. So a little bit of lean back. You can then eventually get to the point where the hands are on the ground, so you're reaching back behind you, okay? Now, if you get to here and you're like, yep, good stretch, but I feel like I can go further, what you're going to do is tense your butt and kind of lift your hips off your heels. So we're basically going to slowly, kind of, sort of similar to the calf raises, slowly move in and out of that continuously. So pause at end range, back down again. Think about contracting your abs. So rather than kind of sort of arching and pushing your belly forward, you're actually going to stay tight and think about your hips themselves actually driving forward. Okay, so this is sort of like the end point we want to get to. Now, if you find that even if we come back to that first position, that kneeling one, if that's already too hard, guys, what you can do is set up a little bit of padding behind you, okay, just for some elevation to kind of get your hands on there so it's not too far away, as in the ground's not too far away, and you get something you can kind of elevate yourself up and hang out in that position. Plates works well. If you have some weight plates you can stack up, that's good too. So this one's really good in that it's going to hit a few different places at once. So obviously the main one here is going to be like quads, hip flexors, a little bit of kind of low abdomen. Another really big piece of this though is going to be like biceps, shoulders, chest. So that position of getting those arms back and that chest out is really going to open up. So if you have been doing a ton of push-ups and burpees like we all have been in lockdown, this is going to be really nice to kind of open that up again, get that really good shoulder health going on. So we'll go 1 more minute on this. If you still sort of feel like this is too much knee bend for you, maybe you've got some rusty knees there, try doing this in front of your couch and putting your hands on the edge of the couch and actually just kind of thrusting forward. So being a little bit more upright rather than that deep lean back that Em's got there. You can actually be more tall with it. And that will just take a little bit of the bend out of the knees whilst we still get that stretch. Okay, 20 more seconds. All right, so we're going to move into our last section now, guys. So Em's going to stand up. She's going to go arms out in front, and basically what she'll do is just bend the fingers back. So we're going to go fingers back, fingers in. So we're basically looking at kind of inside and outside of forearm, like we've done with some of these other ones. 3, 5, even 10 seconds at end range if you really want to kind of hang out there. And we're just thinking about that kind of wrist mobility, wrist health. So all of the kind of front racking we've done with kettlebells or barbells or whatever it is, this is just going to kind of help that move a little bit easier. Now what you can do at the same time as this, if you can coordinate it, guys, take out 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll do some neck rolls as well. Okay, if you find that a little bit like kind of trying to rub your belly and tap your head at the same time, don't worry about it. But if you can throw that in, it's just nice to kind of get the whole upper body doing something there, loosening up. So we'll do this as our last set of drills. This can be a really good one as well for those of you who have been spending a lot of time on the Zoom calls, on your mouse pad, on your phone, that sort of stuff, where we're basically getting very kind of cramped up and very much in the one position and overworked through all of our hands and wrists and all that. So you get that almost like an RSI kind of feeling. Your hands, they feel really stiff. This is going to be really nice just to reopen that back up again. So play around with trying to sort of glide those wrists into some better positions. The long game of this also is eventually when we get back on things like barbell cleans and things like that, that front rack position, obviously it will be quite stiff. So this is going to help kind of keep that nice and open, allow us to get those positions going on without much discomfort. Okay, we're going to go 1 more minute. So you notice that when Em's doing this, she's doing it on different angles. So inwards, upwards, downwards, outwards. Play around with as many ranges of motion as possible, guys. You might find tight spots that you didn't even realize was there. So go searching for it. See if you can open them up as much as possible. Three, two, one, and that is time. All right, guys, well done. I hope you had fun with that one. Hope you feel nice and loose and limber. Have a great weekend, guys. Be safe, and we will catch you next time.